Good morning, everybody. This is Laura at Laughing Dogs Book Nook, and I'm here to try to continue the series I'm starting on this big little golden book that I had shared with you previously. And the video that I did about the spine, my new computer won't upload it, so I am going to try to carry on and then go back and do a spine video and put that into the series later. So at the moment, what we're doing is preparing signatures, and I apologize because I had video of preparing when I was working on these 6 signatures. Yes, and the computer won't recognize it. So we're just going to punt and go forward, and I'll just talk a little bit about these signatures. I loved these illustrations so much that I decided to use them for some of my signature covers instead of just going with pattern paper. And so some of the signatures will have these wonderful illustrated nursery rhymes, and some of them will be pattern paper. And on the inside of the pattern paper, I thought when we got to the embellishing part, we'd decide what we wanted to do on the inside here. And of course, I just have a mixture of all different kinds of pages in the signature itself. And we'll go through that. Down the road, I have some eco-dyed paper, good grief. And so then that's one of the pattern paper ones. And then I'm actually using the book itself as well as signature pages. And I have 2 signatures that will be the book pages. And so these will just be the cover, and then there'll be other pages in here, and the story will go along, and there'll be other wonderful old dictionary page, and there'll be other pages in here along with it. And I did a take on Gail Agostinelli's new method of making her pages fit into the book, and I did a tip-in of this wonderful children's book, those pages, and tip those in to cover where I had worked on the spine of this. And let me see if I just happen to have that book in my big mess here. I've got such a mess here that it's hard to know if I have a book under here or not. But it doesn't look like I've got it on my desk, and I thought I did. Yes, I do. The best in children's books, and that's what these pages come from. And they're just being used to go over where I have redone the pages. And so that's a little bit of what those signatures are going to look like. And of course, here's some more of those gorgeous, gorgeous nursery rhyme fables. A little more pattern paper that I thought went well with the overall look of it. And then I'm going to be, and here's another of the nursery rhymes. And here is Princess and the Pea. Love the color in these. And another one of the actual book pages. And then I thought that we would work on a couple of covers, and I could maybe show you how I got them to this point. Just super simple, not measuring. I took a piece of pattern paper simply took the first page of the signature and laid it out on here. Just laid it out on here, and I made my measurement marks here and here. And then instead of cutting in my trimmer, I decided to just lay down the tear ruler. And you know what? I got this. I found that I had this when I was restocking my craft room. You know, I had the one day to get everything out so that the cabinets could be put in, not knowing they were going to send me the wrong cabinets, but that's another story for another day, and we'll all need coffee then. So I found this when I was moving things back in, so that was great. But before then, I have always just used my standard ruler, and it has cork on the back so that it doesn't move around. And sometimes I just grab this because I don't even think about it. So you don't have to have anything in particular, you know, to do that. You don't have to have anything fancy. And when I tear the pieces, when I tear it, then the pieces go immediately into this bag. And this was another thing that I saw from Gail Agostinelli. And thank you, Gail. What a great idea for corralling the papers. And I usually make it go in two different things. I have like pattern papers and the dyed papers, but I already had this of smaller pieces in my stash, and so I'm just putting the smaller pieces back into this so they'll all be together, and then these pieces will be here. And by the time I'm finished with all of this, then I'll be able to use those for embellishing, and then I'll be able to put some in an envelope when I sell the journal, and that'll be nice to keep up with it. So then I just took a piece, and it was hard, but I took a piece of avocado dyed paper that had already been used for another project and was even already folded. And I cut out 3/4 of an inch wide pieces. And that's what I use for the spine, as I call it, of the pieces. And I tore these specifically so that the sides that were already there, you know, the sides that I butted up against and are not torn, I made that the spine and the bottom. So the torn parts are going to be the top and the outside. This is so that all my pages will line up at the bottom, because I have a lot of different size pages, and for me, I find it easier to kind of line them up at the bottom. Unless they're really narrow, really not very tall, then I'll put them right in the middle to make sure they get two stitches. When you're doing your journals and you haven't done a lot of journals, you need to make sure that all your pages get at least 2 stitches, 2 holes stitched into them so they'll be secure and they'll hold there. And if they're not big enough to go through 2 holes, then you need to consider either using them as a tip-in or sewing them and gluing them on your machine, gluing them down and sewing them on your sewing machine before you put the bigger page into the signature. And then you sew the bigger page in, and this one's attached to it. So those are just a couple of things to think about when you're picking the size of paper that you want for your journal. And it is always nice to have different sizes to have that interest. And so I'm just going to go through here, and I cannot find my Uhu glue stick, which is really upsetting because that's what I like to use for this. It's not as messy. This stuff is wonderful, don't get me wrong, but it does tend to kind of gorp and run, and of course gorp is a technical term. It just can be kind of a mess. And I don't have my mat out yet. I need to get my mat under here to catch the glue. But you know, woo! I just decided to fly with this video and get out there and hope that maybe this one will go through and load. I'm really tired of making videos and not being able to have them out there. You know what's happening. What's happening is the little person's going, hey, you need to do a live. You just need to do a live, Laura. Well, I'm not there yet. I am not there yet on personal lives, but if this keeps happening, I may be forced to do it because I want you all to have this series of the Big Little Golden Books. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting because they're not a set size. So you do have to piece some. And piecing is always something that's good to read up on before you decide that you're going to do it yourself. Now, having torn the edges, this is something else to note. Having torn these edges, they are not going to be straight. So there is going to be a little bit of where it seems like the paper's taller than the spine, when really it's just because it's a ridge of it having been torn. They're really virtually the same size. You just have to, this glue. Excuse me while I get rid of the excess glue. It's just something about that glue. It is wonderful, but it does tend to, do you hear my computer in the background showing you that it's not working? Yeah, nothing like getting something new and having it not work, so. This is the season for me to learn patience, and I am trying to do that. And so then we just want to make sure that we fold it on its spine and that we don't have any crinkles or wrinkles. So just pull it out a bit so that there's room for them to come together. Okay. Whew. All right. Now, there. Oftentimes I'll use, actually, up until this journal, I always use double-sided pattern paper for signature covers, as I call them, for the first page of a signature. And this time I've decided, why not use the single-sided paper? Let's see what we can do with that other side. That should be interesting. So here's another cover, and I have just some basic uncut pages to go into it. Let's see where we are. Okay, the last one was this one, so then we're going to do this wonderful one that has these fabulous, fabulous illustrations. And put that there. And then this is going to go after the other little golden book, and we'll work on that in a minute. So these are the pages I've just kind of thrown together to go in here, and we'll add to them as well. We're going to want to put in a okay, we'll do it like that. We're going to want to cut them, trim them. We're going to want to put in some other pages. Obviously, I want to put in some atlas pages. And I have those kind of torn out in my mess. There is some madness to my mess here. Maybe. Okay, here we go. Here's an atlas page, and we can get this put in there. And I like to trim it up. I like to trim it up to here. And I don't know if it's really thick paper. I may have been using my trimmer, but let me just see if I can get this to tear it. Fairly good job. There's a little bit here and I just use my nail against my finger underneath to kind of even it up a little. If there's something that's not torn exactly across the page. And then we can come in here. I need to get a book page for this one. I think we'll put them in here. So as you can see, just some trimming needs to happen. And I'm going to also add book page, and I have some brown masking paper I like a lot that I thought about when Kay from Art in the City was talking about her patty paper. I love this brown mask. It's called masking paper. I guess you just use it to mask places if you're going to paint or something, but I love it. It's great to use, and it is very strong. And I'll put in a book page in there and put in that masking paper, and then it looks like we'll just need to trim the other things after I put in the brown paper. And then here it is. Then on these, I put in some coffee dyed paper in the map paper. I may have run out of book pages. I don't know. Well, no. There's a dictionary page. So I do these a little differently because I don't use the avocado paper in them. They have a lot more browns in them. So I like to use the coffee dyed paper and then this brown paper and book pages that are brown. Of course, the difference is I will put this green and orange paper in. Now I love this old dictionary paper. That's a lot of fun to do some special work on. So we can fold some coffee dyed paper into this one and see where I have. I know my desk just looks like a bomb went off. And you know, you feel like everything has to be trimmed and everything has to work out. And you know, it just, in the end it does, but also I've learned that some things don't have to all be the same height. And in the past, I've sort of felt like, you know what, I don't really want to get in the way of that. I think that's awfully cute. In the past, I have felt like I wanted to have everything the same height, and it didn't look good unless it, I mean, I would have pages that were smaller, but everything that was tall would be the same height. And I'm just kind of learning that that just doesn't always have to be the case. Now I will cut this down. That's going to stick out so far that it'll work with the book itself. You know, it'll mess with the book itself and how it works. I know. Don't judge me. I did say I wasn't going to do that, but I need space for things. And there's a lot I'm putting in. I thought that I would do 10 signatures and just do 3 or 4 pages per signature. Right. Where was I? You know, I'm not going to be able to just hold myself to 3 or 4 pages. I think most of them have about 9 pages. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And because, you know, it is not enough, I'll probably do some tip ends that are pockets. So look for that to happen in one of my videos. So hopelessly all over the place here and loving it. I think this one has the most blue, so I'm just going to pop you in there. Now the masking paper, let me do this real quick so I can get it off my desktop. The masking paper, I'm going to pull that out here and cut a piece. It seems like it's tough to work with until you cut it to the size that you want, and then it's just wonderful, and it works well in the book, and it plays well with others, and it's really some pretty cool stuff to work with. I like it because it's on a roll, so it's not going to be hard for me to find a place in my little nook to hold it, you know, because we're right now having, as my daughters call it, the cramming of the nook. And so I go into the room I can't get back out of on my own and pull out some things that I want to bring down here and have down here. And that's when my daughters say it's time for the cramming of the nook, because I've brought all this stuff down and now we got to find a home for it. And it is a tiny little room, but I am ever so thankful that I have a room. For years I had a closet, which I thought was fabulous. You know, I've got a closet. I just was so excited that I had a closet, that I had that much room, you know, that I could use. And my husband's always been really sweet about me spilling over when I'm in the midst of doing multiple journals. I spill over onto the kitchen table, and he's very sweet about that, but I'm trying to get it so I don't do that. That's why I was really excited about having a redo, because I would have more table space and not have to spill over to the kitchen table. And that's of course something that's nice for your marriage. And I believe, I don't think I've said anything about it, but we are going to go in and ink around all this, you know, before we put the signatures in. We will ink around them all. And here is this signature with just, again, some of the foundation pieces that I'd started it with. And this is a wonderful spelling textbook from, I think, the 60s. I don't believe it goes back to the 50s. I believe this is the 60s. But it's such fun. They're fun little things that they have you doing. And of course, again, you can cut it up and use it for collages. You can gesso over it or just paste other pages over it. And we may do some of that. We may do some of that if I can ever get this video going, so that there's our centerpiece. And then we're going to put in a map. And I'll get the brown paper out and we'll do some brown paper and get it done. It's a good feeling. I love just and I just put them in here. You know, every one of my signatures may have a map in it, but not in the same place and not with everything else. It's just all kind of in there, and it's in there because it's wonderful to interact with these. It's great to use this paper and you can use it for a background, or you can cut it up and use it for something else. And sometimes I've even cut a strip off and used it somewhere else, and then glued other paper over to make it wide again. So there's no telling. Some of these pages that, probably not this one, but some of these pages we may end up putting something over here on the side to give us more room for journaling. We may put something on that's wide that we fold back in. You know, you can do anything, and that's why I will always give you a pouch of things that you can use to interact. All different size papers and cutouts and fabrics that are all part of this journal, because I do have maybe on my table, but I bet it's on the tray. Let's look on the tray. Let's bring over, hello Doodle. Let's bring over the tray and look at the tray. And the tray holds some of the pieces that are in the family. This is handmade paper, which I just love because it has, this one has the parts of the tree. Can you see the pulp in there? And then the little pieces of bark are in there. And then this has leaves, all different sizes of leaves. We're going to be using this in here. Don't you worry, that's going to be a neat piece. And then of course I've got some strips here that need to go into my strip bag. But I just pulled out some pieces I thought would be fun to use. I have some strips of fabric we can use. And here's some of the floral that I thought looked particularly pretty with this journal. It's the pinks and the blues. Let's see if I can get to some of my, it's the pinks and the blues and the greens. Turn that over. I think that's real pretty together. If you can see that, if I'm even in, you know, you've got the blue gingham, which is cute, and blue chenille, which is right in there with it, and then some pink florals and some cute pink paper that will go with it. I think it's really cute, brighter pink paper. So I just have these on a tray, just looking at things that might look cute down the road with it, and setting them aside so I know where they are. And oh yeah, I forgot about this. The pink gingham, polka dot, hello. And I believe I have some green, light green polka dot too, which would be so cute since there's green in this. And so that is where we are right now. I'm going to cut this one off and see if I can upload it. And no, Doodle, stay. And hey, sweetie. And then come back with another one with the next steps of the brown paper and cutting it out. So y'all, thank you for watching. And if you haven't, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have more videos coming out, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you soon.